The hotel lobby was polished marble and pride, a place where appearances mattered more than people. When a young black boy in worn shoes walked in, dragging a battered suitcase, whispers started before he even reached the counter. The receptionist's smile was tight, rehearsed, almost pitying. "We only give our best suites to guests who can afford them," she said, her voice sugar-coated with contempt. Behind her, laughter echoed from a group of well-dressed guests recording the scene on their phones. None of them knew that within hours this same boy would make a call that would change every smug smile in that room. Forever. Miles had grown up learning how to smile through humiliation. His mother, a single parent who cleaned hotel rooms for a living, often told him, "Son, respect costs nothing, but it reveals everything." When she fell ill, Miles took on odd jobs, saving every dollar he could. His dream was simple: to give her one night of peace in a luxury suite, the kind she used to clean for others. Now, standing in the grand lobby of the Lexington Royale Hotel, he felt the weight of every sneer. The chandelier above sparkled like 1,000 eyes watching him, judging, doubting, dismissing. The receptionist, Amanda, leaned over the counter with a smirk. "Sir, do you even have a credit card?" she asked, emphasizing "sir" as if mocking the very idea. Miles reached into his pocket and placed a black card on the counter. Amanda blinked, but quickly covered her surprise. "Let's just see if it has any balance," she muttered, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. The group of businessmen behind him chuckled, whispering cruel jokes under their breath. He stood silently, his expression calm but his heart pounding. Every second of waiting felt like a test, not of money but of dignity. He wasn't here to prove them wrong. He was here to honor the woman who had given him everything. What they didn't know was that Miles wasn't just a customer. He was the new silent investor behind the hotel itself, a detail that would soon flip their world upside down. Amanda S fingers hovered over the keyboard, pretending to type. Each click was exaggerated, each pause deliberate, a silent display of power. She whispered to her coworker, who stifled a laugh behind a manicured hand. "He probably found that card," she said, not quietly enough. The people waiting behind Miles chuckled. The air was heavy with quiet cruelty. Miles kept his gaze steady on the gleaming hotel crest engraved into the counter. He could feel their eyes on his clothes, his skin, his silence. The receptionist finally turned back, feigning apology. "I'm sorry, sir," she said slowly, "but your card has been declined." The laughter was instant. A man in a tailored suit shook his head, saying, "Next time, kid, try the motel down the street." Miles didn't react. He simply reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, a quiet movement that silenced the room. With a few taps, he made a call. "Tell Mr. Lexington I'm at the front desk," he said. That was all. His tone was calm, but something in his composure unsettled everyone around him. Amanda blinked, uncertain. "Mr. Lexington," she repeated softly, as if the name itself didn't belong in the same sentence as this boy. Moments later, the elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Out stepped a man in his 50s, the hotel owner himself. His eyes immediately lit up at the sight of Miles. "Miles, I didn't know you were coming today." His voice carried across the lobby like a lightning strike. "Everyone, this is Miles Carter, our newest and youngest major investor." The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. The color drained from Amanda's face. The smirking businessmen froze, their laughter dying in their throats. Miles only smiled, not smugly, but sadly, as if to say, "This is what you never cared to see." The owner clapped a hand on Miles's shoulder. "Get him the penthouse suite." And Amanda, make sure it's perfect. As she fumbled with the keys, her hands trembled. The same card that was supposedly declined was now accepted instantly. Everyone avoided eye contact. The arrogance that had filled the air just moments ago had turned into shame. But for Miles, it wasn't about revenge. It was about reflection. He thought of his mother, how many times she had walked into rooms just like this one, invisible, unacknowledged, made to feel small. And now her son stood in the same space, commanding respect, without ever raising his voice. The walls of the hotel seemed to echo with an unspoken truth. Sometimes, the most powerful statement isn't made through words, but through grace. The elevator ride to the top floor felt like stepping out of one world and into another. Just minutes ago, Miles had been mocked, dismissed, and humiliated in the lobby. Now every staff member he passed stood straighter, their eyes wide with recognition. But he didn't smile. His silence spoke louder than any words could. When the doors opened to the penthouse suite, Amanda was already there, pale, nervous, and trying desperately to appear professional. "Mr. Carter," she stammered, I want to apologize for earlier. It was just a misunderstanding." Miles didn't look angry. He simply walked past her, his eyes scanning the room. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the city skyline, glittering under the evening sun. The same skyline his mother had once gazed at from a cleaning cart in this very hotel. He turned to Amanda, his voice calm but firm. "How many people do you treat the way you treated me?" She froze, her throat tightening. I didn't mean." He held up a hand, stopping her gently. "You didn't have to mean it, you just had to believe it." The words hung in the air like thunder. Amanda's eyes filled with shame. Miles walked to the window, pulling out his phone once more. "Mr. Lexington," he said quietly, "I've decided something. I'm donating my shares to a foundation that supports underprivileged youth in hospitality careers, the kind who'd never be offered a suite here." The owner's surprise crackled through the speaker, but Miles continued, "I don't need to own what once tried to humiliate me. I just need to change what it represents." He ended the call, slipped his phone back into his pocket, and looked around the penthouse, a symbol of success that suddenly felt small compared to his mother's strength and his own quiet victory. Amanda stood speechless as he turned to leave, the weight of her prejudice crushing the air between them. In that moment, it wasn't her job she feared losing. It was the reflection she now had to face every time she looked in the mirror. The next morning, the Lexington Royale felt different. The gossip had shifted from whispers about the boy with no balance to the shock of who he truly was. Word spread through every department, from the front desk to the kitchens, about how the young investor had quietly rewritten the hotel's story in one night. Amanda avoided eye contact with anyone. Every time the front doors opened, she flinched, half expecting Miles to walk in again, half praying he wouldn't. But when she looked at the guest list later that afternoon, his name was still there. He had paid in full, left a generous tip for every staff member, and quietly checked out without another word. On his way out, Miles paused by the hotel's glass doors. The same marble lobby that had once felt cold and judgmental now seemed smaller, humbled. The employees he passed nodded respectfully, not because of his money, but because of the quiet dignity he carried with him. Outside, the sun caught his reflection in the glass, and for a moment, he saw not just himself, but his mother standing beside him. The woman who once scrubbed floors in this same building, whose strength had paved every step he'd taken. He smiled softly and whispered, "We made it, Mom." Weeks later, a new sign appeared in the hotel lobby. It read, "The Carter Foundation, empowering young dreamers in hospitality." The same hotel that once denied a boy respect now trained and uplifted hundreds of youth who had once been invisible, kids who reminded Miles of himself. And Amanda, she applied for transfer, but before leaving, she made a point to volunteer at the Foundation's first training program. She didn't do it for redemption, she did it to understand. Miles never returned to the Lexington Royale, but his story stayed there, in the marble floors, in the lobby, whispers, and in every young black or brown guest who now walked through those doors and was met not with suspicion, but with welcome. Because sometimes, change doesn't begin with anger or revenge. It begins with one quiet act of grace that forces others to see what they've refused to acknowledge. As the video fades, the narrator's voice asks a question that lingers long after the screen goes dark. If respect cost nothing, why do so many still act like it's a luxury?